So welcome back to the July 2025 Intermediate Saturday Sampler here at Close to Home in Southington. To get July's block kit free, you need to bring in your completed June block beginning Friday, July 11th through July 31st. So let's take a look at July's block. We are going to be working with the Deb Tucker's Studio 180 Diamond Rex tool. Now you remember a few years ago I put the Diamond Rex in the border, so a lot of you probably already have this ruler if you did the borders, or I remember I did put it in a block a few years back. So we're going to learn a little bit again about the Rex that go on the corners of the diamond. Probably I'll touch on the corner and the square and a square, but we won't be sewing those. We'll concentrate on the Diamond Rex tool. All right. The cutting instructions, the floral, you'll take a 3.5-inch square for the center, and then the remaining strip you're going to cut it down to 3 1/4 for the diamond shapes. The blue is 4 1/4. We're going to cut that on the diagonal twice, and that's going to be the first round of our square and a square. The magenta is part of our Diamond Rex, so we need 4 2 3/4 by 4-inch, and the greens are for my corner, so we only need 4 2-inch squares. Very simple. And then the white, it's a long rectangle, so I took a 2-inch strip off the beginning of it and got my 4 2-inch squares again for the corners. I took another 3.5-inch strip off of that, and I had 4 rectangles that were now 2 by 3.5, again for my corners. And then for the Diamond Rex, much like the magenta, we're going to need 4 2 3/4 by 4-inch. So I just went over 2 3/4, and since these were 2, I already knew it was going to be 4-inch, but I did 2 3/4 by 4. And then the last one is at the end. I took 2 3 7/8 squares, again for my square and a square, and that's the second round after the blues, and those are only cut on the diagonal once. Okay, so very simple cutting. The Deb Tucker ruler, I just want to go over real quick with the Deb Tucker ruler. It not only tells you exactly what size to cut your diamonds. We have diamonds anywhere from 1 by 2 to the 2 by 4, 3 by 6. This is the one we're going to be using, 3 by 6. You can make them larger, 4 by 5 and 5 by 10. So a very versatile type of block. You see it a lot in Storm at Sea blocks. Today we're just going to be making it very simply with the 3 by 6. It also tells you, this is upside down, but it tells you exactly how big to cut your Rex. So in this case, 2 3/4 by 4, which I've given you in the cutting directions, and we'll go ahead and cut our rectangles. And then once we sew them, the sides, the magenta to 2 sides and the white to 2 sides, we'll be trimming it. So 3 things to do: cut our diamonds, cut our Rex, and then trim our completed units. All right, so let's get started. First thing I want to do is go ahead and cut my diamonds. So I've cut my strip into the 3 1/4 like it recommends. Now again, it's a little oversized, so as we go we're going to have to trim a little smidge off of each one. All right, so I'll show you that. I'm going to turn it one side first. I'm going to get this in my, oops, it's upside down for you guys, sorry. I'm going to do it in one way, and then I'm going to flip it around so that I can get the other side of my diamond. So what I'm looking at, it's hard to see with the floor under it. So what I'm looking at, sorry, is 3 by 6 right here, the 3 by 6 diamond. I'm just going to line this up, this line right here with the bottom of my strip, so I can cut my first angle. And then I'm going to flip my strip around, and it's going to fit here, and I'll just show you again how to cut that diamond. So here's my 3 by 6 for the center diamond. I'm just going to line it up as far to the edge as you can. You can see I have like a little bit of extra going on the top, and that's okay. We'll take care of that. So go ahead and cut my first diamond. I'm just going to spin this around. And then this is going to fit very nicely in the same one, the 3 by 6. I'm going to line up the bottom of my strip and the edge I just cut from this side. And I'm just going to put it right inside that solid line where it says 3 by 6 center diamond. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, cut my first diamond, but I want to make sure that I do get rid of this tiny excess piece up here. All right, we'll just slide it down, do it again, find the 3 by 6 along the bottom, get it in that corner, and match it to the side I just cut. This is number 2. And we're just going to trim off that little piece right there. Move over, line it up, find my 3 by 6. So you're going to get a lot of really pretty colors inside your diamonds. Like some of them are more on the green-yellow side, some are more on the blue-purple side. They're going to be very pretty. I'll slide that one last time, find my 3 by 6, line it up along the bottom and along the edge. Go ahead and cut it. That's waste. And we'll trim that little piece again. So our diamonds are all cut. All right, so for the rectangles, let's put these aside for a sec. Our rectangles are cut. We have 4 magenta and 4 white. The white are hard to tell which is the right and wrong side, so I'll just show you the magenta. We're going to take 2 of our rectangles right side up and 2 of our rectangles right side down, so that we have 2 up and 2 down. All right, because we want mirror images left and rights of our rectangle. So we have to turn one in the opposite direction. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and take, once again, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to look for the 3 by 6, which is right here. It tells me how big to make my rectangle. I'm going to line up using that black line with the corner of my magenta rectangle, and I'm just going to cut my angle. So there's a little notch up here, and there'll be a little notch or leftover hangover down on this side. So let's go ahead and cut that. So they're all stacked, 2 up, 2 down, very important. I'm just going to, again, line up these lines, and that's all you have to do for the rectangles. Okay. I'm going to do the same with the white, even though, you know, 2 up, 2 down, they're pretty much the same. I just want to make sure that I have them stacked nicely. But if you were using any other, you know, fabric that had a pattern on one side, like this one, this is pretty much the same color through and through. Again, we're just going to line that up. And I'm just going to cut that in half. So now we're going to, I'm all set with this until it's time to trim. So I'm just going to put that one aside. And I'm going to line up my pieces. I have my magenta and my magenta here and here. You might be tempted to want to go in this direction, but that's incorrect. We want to make sure that the narrow points go to the wider side. And here's my 2 here again. 1, 2, and 1, 2. All right, and then my whites. 1, 2, and if I were a betting man, they would be correct. But because they're just white tonal, I can flip them any way I want. All right, now I have them all lined up. Go ahead and put my diamonds. I'm going to start by sewing opposite sides first of my diamond. So I'll take the magenta and bring it around so everybody can see it. I'm going to take my magenta and I'm going to flip it so I know which side to sew on. But I want to sew with the diamond on top. Okay? The point of the diamond should be not right up to the point, but it should be fairly close to it, almost centered. Like if I were to center this, it would be more like this, but I'm gonna smudge it up just a tad so it's almost point to point. And I'm gonna go ahead and sew this at 1/4 inch all the way down. I'll start from this side because I sew from the right. And I'm going to sew this right side. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. Nice and straight, okay? I'm just going to lay these right out. You can pin if you'd like, but I'm just going to keep my hand on it so it doesn't slip on me. I got my finger holding the points down below so that they don't slip. All right, so you're going to do all 4 at a time. I'm just going to do one for you. All right, bring it back around. And now we have the opposite one, which is the white. We're going to flip this over. So I want to sew along here, but I want to sew with the diamond up. And now I'm going to smudge. I'm just going to push this down so that my point isn't touching the top, but it's fairly maybe 1/4 to 1/8 away from the top. And I'm going to go ahead and sew that. This will give you a little extra wiggle room when it comes time to trim. And we all know trimming is the way to go. It's really nice, accurate blocks. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and press these away from the diamond. So give it a little bit of heat. And then this one's getting pressed again away from the diamond. All right, we'll come back and let's add the opposites again. So this one is going to go on this side. So I'm just going to flip this over, but I want to sew with the diamond up. So I want to make sure that this point is close to the other point, but not quite touching, okay? So get it maybe about 1/4 inch from the top. We'll go ahead and sew that. Try not to flip your pieces or flip your seams as you go. I'll hold this nice and tight down here. And now we'll add the other white. Flip it over. Oops, I'm adding this white, this one right here. I have 2, sorry. All right, so flip it. So I'm going to be sewing along here. I want to sew with the diamond up. So that's pretty close to the point, but not touching. And we're going to sew one more time, last time, and then we get to trim. nice 1/4 of an inch, nice and straight. All right, last press, and then we'll trim. And of course, you'll have 4 of these. I did spray all my pieces with the Best Press first before I cut my kits. Kind of gives it a little bit more stability on all these angles. Okay, so we're going to take this to the cutting mat. And this time we're going to look for this angle, this trimming that says 3 by 6. Okay, so right down here, you see we have our 3 by 6. This is going to be our finished size when we're done. And you'll notice at each point we have a little X at this point, this point, this point, and this point. So we're going to match up those X's with our seam allowances. All right, so we're going to flip this over. And I have my X right here on the V, whatever you call that, the point of my diamond. This one's lined up, lined up, lined up. So I'm pretty happy with the way the dashed line goes around the diamond. So I'm going to go ahead and trim these 2 sides. Don't have much. Okay. And I'm going to give this a 180 turn. Lining up the bottom and the side again, and lining up my little X's on the points of my diamond, and give this a trim. And that is it. Okay. We have a nice diamond and a Rex by Deb Tucker. All right, the other 2 pieces I want to talk about really quickly are the corners. When we sew the corners, we're just going to take our 2-inch green with our 2-inch white, sew those together, just like that, and we're going to add our 3.5-inch white. I think it was 3.5 by 2. Yep. So this is going to finish at 3 inches. We're going to make 4 of those. That's a simple corner. And of course our square and a square, when we cut our blue on the diagonal twice, it yields 4 triangles. And all I did was I centered these and I sewed across the opposite sides and pressed toward the triangles. Again, sewed these, centered them, sewed them, pressed toward the triangles. And then I went and added same thing with the white. So that will finish, that will be a 6.5 finished at 6. So here we have our 3-inch finished, our 3 by 6 inch finished, and our 6 by 6 finished. It was a really fun block to do. I hope you enjoy it. And please come in with your June blocks. Between July 11th, that's this weekend, and July 31st. I hope your summer's going well. Thank you for watching.